It's really weird today. I know that up there, high up there, is smoke from the Canadian wildfires. Our sky is just very hazy. It's weird because having sat on the train going through Canada and approaching Edmonton, and the sun was so obscured, and here it is sort of being repeated. I think some of that up there is clouds, but the colour for me isn't right. It's supposed to be about 4,000 feet and not really going to be doing any harm unless you have, you know, unless you're quite vulnerable to the particulates. It's just amazing, isn't it? I mean, it just shows you that we all share the same world, the same sky, the same sea. That dog has been neglected for months and months and months. It used to be flavour of the week, but it isn't any longer. I don't know what it got wrong, but it just gets abandoned on a daily basis for several hours during the day, several hours during the evening. It cries, it yelps, it barks, it gets really frustrated, sounds like it's getting cross with itself. Our neighbour and Mark, we were talking about it the other day, and they thought it was two dogs. I don't think it is. I think it's one dog just struggling on its own. And some of you will be saying, well, why don't you do something about it? And some of you will be saying, why don't you report it? And some of you won't understand that this is where we've been before. Years and years ago, there were similar problems of neglect. Dogs barking at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it took us months and months and months for something to happen. And eventually the person that owns the dog got fined. And for us, the idea of starting the whole fucking game again it's just something we can't do. And it's very sad, you know. The poor dog is suffering. We've heard a dog years and years ago, the first dog we met, crying and crying and crying. Eventually she died. And I wonder whether this is what's going to happen to this dog. And I'm not naming names. I'm not, you know, I'm not saying whose dog it is. You don't need me to name names. And I feel like, you know, impotent really. Because now, you know, with our life as it is, such as it is at the moment, the stress we've had for months and months and months, and the stress we're about to have for the next few months with Mark and surgery, I can't start another stressful interaction with a psychopath. Sorry, with a borderline personality disordered person. But I don't know what the dog did. But it's not been flavour of the month for a long time. So, that's the news from here. Well, partial news from here. Pruned all the flowers off there because they were dying. If you don't prune them off, you won't get new growth, you won't get new flowers. So I've done it as my dad taught me, taking the stalk, the flower right down the stalk back to where it joins the plant, and breaking it off there. So that's what I've done. You also shouldn't fertilise geraniums, he told me. I always remember his advice. Anyway, I'm cooking. I better go back to see what I've burnt. Good luck, Canada, with all your fires. I just feel really bad for you. Really bad.